Yo, what's up, guys? It's Brad. Today I want to talk about the unknown history of the development of Washington, D.C., things that you probably didn't know about. I just put a whole article up on bradholiday.com, spent a bunch of time yesterday researching this, and I'm going to lay this out. We're going to go over the foundations, the Freemason aspect, the Scientology aspect, the different influence, the different criminal networks that are operating within DC, the structure of the land, and so on and so forth. So let's start with the guy that actually created the infrastructure design plan for Washington, D.C. Pierre Charles L'Enfant, French name. L'Enfant in French means infant. More on that later. Now, this guy, Pierre Charles L'Enfant, was actually a Freemason. Many members of our government were high-level 33rd order level Freemason, 33rd degree Freemason. That's the highest level of Freemason you could possibly be. Or they were just high-level Freemasons or part of other secret societies. This includes George Washington. This includes Woodrow Wilson, Teddy Roosevelt, Nixon. All these presidents were all involved with some type of secret society, whether it was Masons or some other one called like the Odd Fellows. They're going to Bohemian Grove. They're all involved with some type of secret society. So L'Enfant, the guy that developed the infrastructure plan, the street plan, and all that, the design for DC, was a Mason. Interestingly enough, there are two inverted pentagrams within DC. If you look at the map of DC and you look at the streets, the White House is at the base of one of the inverted pentagrams. Comet Ping Pong Pizza is also at the base of another inverted pentagram, and they're also along the same road, Connecticut Avenue, I believe. You can see the actual maps. You can do your own research, or you can just go directly to my blog. I have it laid out with maps. You can decide for yourself based upon your own research whether it makes sense to you. This is what made sense to me. Now, moving forward, let's talk a little bit about what the pentagram means. The inversion of a pentagram is something that it's a symbol for the Satanic Church. I believe Anton LaVey was the one that really solidified that, and Aleister Crowley, the original writers about Satanism, and Anton LaVey founded the Church of Satan. And this symbol within the pentagram means what happens within the pentagram can never leave, and they create all types of evil within the pentagram to summon these demons, and literally to worship and create chaos and evil and everything dark and disgusting about the world. It's inversion. It's inversion of goodness. It's inversion of being Christ-like. It's inversion of being a good person. It's everything evil. So I find it very interesting. Let's cut through the shit. Clearly, this is a satanic thing that's going on here. And in Freemasonry, which, by the way, there's a Masonic temple above the inverted pentagram, above the White House. Directly above the White House, there's a Masonic temple, and also a Church of Scientology, interestingly enough. So they, in Freemasonry, they're very much into alchemy, and they understand that the world is a balance. Conjuring black magic or white magic is something that it's just simply a tool for them to use at their, as they wish. And they know about black magic. They also know about white magic. And it's just an interesting thing. They know that the downward facing pentagram is universally accepted, or for whatever reason human beings identify with that symbol as that. So, no coincidence there. They're fully aware of this stuff. It's in their Masonic Bible. It's in the Kabbalah. It's in all the ancient texts. They know about this shit. They're very into symbology, numerology. Literally, there's a great quote that I read recently, which is that the world is run by symbols. And you think it's run by words. You think it's run by documents. But it's really run by symbols. Symbology is huge for these people. We actually think in symbols. Jung talks about this. You ever hear the expression, a picture is worth 1,000 words? It is, because human beings think in pictures, they think in symbols. So symbology is very, very important to these people. In fact, QAnon says symbology will be their downfall. It is. And we're going to get more into that in a second. So, another thing I want to point out real quick. Pizzagate. Let's tie this in there real quick. It's very ironic. Look, pizza restaurants are not, obviously not all of them, but they're used as a cover for satanic ritual abuse that goes on in the basement of a lot of them, child trafficking, human trafficking. Pizzagate. That's basically the whole thing. There's a whole string of pizza-related restaurants across the United States, and I'm listing them all on my website. Roberta's in Brooklyn, New York, which, Roberta's in Brooklyn, New York. Comet Ping Pong Pizza in Washington, D.C. Goat Hill Pizza, owned by Nancy Pelosi. The chain, she somehow runs a chain and owns a franchise of restaurants on a government salary. How interesting is that, fucking cunt? And they all have references to Satanism. There's another one, Philadelphia, no surprise there. That's Pizza Brain, and I'm making another article about that today. So one of the things that's interesting about the pizza is that when you cut up the pizza and you invert the slices, it actually can make a pentagram with one slice here, 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 and then you invert it. It's a pentagram. So you start to see themes of that, and then you see in the center is the eye. It's very, very strange. And then you look at the Instagrams and all this stuff, and just look at my Pizzagate article. So at the bottom of the second pentagram is Comet Ping Pong Pizza. Within the same plaza is fucking, Best the Pizza, which has the boy lover pedophile symbol on it. There's these different foundations run by the Clinton Foundation, or arms of the Clinton Foundation are tied to them that have the girl lover symbol within them. Ties to Haiti, ties to the Evergreen shipping company that Hillary Clinton's involved with. By the way, Evergreen is Hillary Clinton's Secret Service code name, and she also is a big donor and a big supporter of Evergreen shipping. I even have a video of me being in the city, New York City, the day before Election Day, November 2nd, and I thought it was very weird. They parked this huge barge in the East River that stood there for a week. I mean, huge, like a fucking cruise liner. It was just staying there. I'm like, what's going on there? How can they just park a huge barge in the middle of a waterway? I mean, surely there are boats that need to pass through, and this thing is just parked. So then on November 2nd, and I have this video, what do I see? Huge fucking shipping barge coming through filled with Evergreen boxes. So it's just weird, You can't say anything conclusively, but if you're not a fucking retard, you can put two and two together, you know what I'm saying? Roberto's Pizza has an Evergreen shipping barge in it, and there's pictures of Hillary Clinton hosting campaign funding events there. All of their posters have bizarre satanic symbology on it with dead children dancing around, and I posted that on the article too. All real posters, direct ties to the Clinton Foundation, Evergreen. So DC, another interesting thing. I know I'm jumping around a bit, but there's so much to cover. L'Enfant has a foundation in DC called the L'Enfant Foundation, or Trust, or whatever. And what they do is they purchase real estate within DC. So one of those pieces of real estate was Comet Ping Pong Pizza. They owned it at one point, and then they sold it over to David Brock, the owner of Media Matters and gay lover of James Alefantis. So it's just interesting. Now also, let's take a look at James Alefantis' name. In the middle of L'Enfantis, in the middle of James Achilles Alefantis, there's pretty much L'Enfant, right? Infant, French for infant. Taking a closer look at James Achilles Alefantis' family history, James Achilles Alefantis has a direct bloodline tie to the Rothschild. He's a Rothschild. And I posted the family tree of his on that same blog article. So this guy, who has arguably no real skills in the world, is put on GC's top 50 most powerful and influential people in Washington, D.C. list out of nowhere. I mean, he's a young guy that has literally no skill set, and somehow he, paid millions of dollars for Comet Ping Pong Pizza. He has his own LLC, Big Cheese LLC. He owns Buck Fishing and whatever, another restaurant. He owns several different pieces of real estate. He's dating David Brock, the guy that runs Media Matters, which is solely responsible for the censorship of conservative views and fact checking. That's what that company does. And it also has ties to George Soros. So it's just, this is the swamp. This is the swamp. Hillary Clinton owns several different, or she has arms of the Clinton Foundation that have, ownership or partial ownership over these businesses that are related to family planning in the area. It's a swamp. There's clearly fuckery abound there, and it all exists within these pentagrams that are tied together through like Connecticut Avenue and another avenue. And then at the top of the White House is, a Masonic temple and a Scientology temple also. Just a brief aside about Scientology, founded by this guy L. Ron Hubbard, who was actually a Jewish guy, a Jewish car salesman, allegedly at first. He paired up with a black magic guy, a Satanist, and then also he paired up with an astrophysicist, I believe. And they they did all these weird conjuring experiments where they're tapping into transmissions from other worldly things, and then he wrote these books on Scientology, allegedly. I mean, it seems like he got such as an aside, and you read these things from Scientology. I had a friend that was a Scientologist, and the things that they talk about are real, but they're so like otherworldly that clearly they got this from some other shit. Like, you just wonder how someone would be that creative. It's just, they're quite literally tapping into they're summoning another dimensional force or thought process or whatever. That's where they come up with this shit, and it works. So, it's just interesting how all that works. Scientology's clearly got some nefarious shit going on in it, okay? Clearly there's some weird shit. They operate with blackmail, and they operate with all this weirdo shit that goes on there. Same with, obviously, the Masons. So, there's that. The biggest takeaway from the article I wrote is that the world that you think that you're living in is not the world that is existing. Washington, D.C. is literally found, the name of the infrastructure plan of Washington, D.C. is the L'Enfant Plan. Go look this up. I have the actual documents there in the article. I have the minutes from the Masonic lodge that this guy L'Enfant attended. I have a photo of George Washington with this Masonic what do you call it? Little apron on. It's just, the world as you know it is not what you think it is. There's a lot of ties to elite powers. History's been manipulated. We've all kind of been living in just this constructed reality where the elites have been pulling the strings for a long time, and now it's sort of blowing up in their fucking face because they're a bunch of corny, dumbass white people, like old white people that have this knowledge that are ruthless criminals that are running our world. And now people are exposing it. They got some chutzpah, and they thought that you never would. They thought that you were just a dumb goyim. They thought you were just like a dumb, like spineless white person or whatever, and you never would do anything about it. Or you were a low IQ black person, and you would never break free of it and have a line of your own. They didn't anticipate the internet. They didn't anticipate the power of people. People are intelligent, and they do have gifts, and they can learn about what's really going on. It doesn't take a fucking genius to really see, like, wow, mainstream media is lying to us. This is ridiculous. And they think that you don't have power. This is the blessing that why we live in America. We have guns. we have the ability to resist this. So anyway, that's about it, guys. Hope you guys have a great day. Talk to you soon.